Benchmark, the voice of business. Presented by LMD.
On this edition of Benchmark, Dr. Gamini Wickramasinghe, Chairman of the Informatics Institute of Technology, is in the studio with us to discuss digitisation and education. Next, we bring you an update on the Colombo Bourse and investor sentiment with LMD columnist Hasita Premratna. And Mihirani Disanayake, the country manager of Kanta TNS, wraps up the show with her analysis of TNS's survey on Sri Lanka's country image. That's the lineup for Benchmark.
Education and digitisation is the topic of discussion today. And with us in the studio is a pioneer in the ICT education sphere in Sri Lanka, the chairman of the Informatics Institute of Technology, Dr. Gamini Wickramasinghe. Dr. Gamini, lovely to have you on the show. And while we are now talking about education, what is your broad take on the education sector at this point of time?
There are pluses and minuses in this. So the current system has been going on for a very long time. At the moment that we have a problem of having trained people, trained teachers, etc. So, and then also we have to have some reforms coming in to make the system better to suit the future. So that's the kind of thing I think we can discuss or we can talk about it.
If you look at, I mean, you mentioned making the system better for the future. Now, experts argue that our education system needs a complete overhaul rather than the band-aid kind of system, the revisions that we are seeing in the past. What do you think?
We have to do that overall, I mean, a total revision, but at the same time, we have to go on. So, previously all the education system from the secondary schools, it has been teacher-centered, classroom exercise. But now with the advent of ICT, the new technologies, new methods, so now it has to be like student-centered. Earlier, everyone, the syllabus was given, then the teacher gave handouts and notes, students studied it, memorized it, went for exams, they were looking for grades. So that's how the tuition classes came on. So everyone wants to get better grades. In the process, you lost your innovation or your outward thinking. You were only memorizing things to get the grade and to pass the exams. But then you sort of missed out on other important things like communication or other social interactions, maybe leadership qualities, the full gamut of things.
So, Dr. Gamini, if you were looking at actual education reforms at this point of time, what do you think, what would you recommend as the main education reforms that we should put into place?
Now, if you start from the beginning, then we have to start from the method of providing the education to the children. So now from a teacher-centered education method, now if you go into student-centered education method, then I think that is one important area. So that means to do that, the teaching methodology will have to change. So like the curriculum and things with the advent of ICT, you can give it to the children before the class, kind of a thing. So then therefore the student is prepared. This is what the lecture might be in the classroom. So when they come, they can ask the questions from the teacher. So then they are rather than memorizing, they study it at home, they had read it, come to the class so they can talk with the teacher, talk among the students, have group discussions. So that means they participate better, and the teacher will act like basically like the guide to directing the students in the right direction. So in the process, teacher also must be smart because the students will be asking outside the syllabus also questions sometimes because for their general knowledge or their requirements. So I think then it is becoming more interactive, and then the ICT will help them to get this transition better, and also for the remote and other schools, because there's only the big schools in Sri Lanka, say in the capitals, and Colombo, Kandy and other places will have these facilities, infrastructure and also good teachers, but the other outlying areas will miss out. But now with the ICT, I think you can cater to the outlying areas also. So you will do a double thing at once now, because ICT is available, I think, throughout the country. Electricity is available almost throughout the country. So therefore they can have access to computers.
Dr. Gamini, there's something like 19% of students who qualify for tertiary education. Most of them can't get into university. Then there's the other lot of children who really don't have a process beyond their A levels or O levels to go into. Now, private education has had a huge, more brickbats than bouquets, really, because Sri Lanka is so used to this free education system. What is the role that the private sector can play in being an education provider for this country to fill those gaps?
Yeah, now all the free education is free in Sri Lanka. Literacy, I think, is about 92%. But then when it goes to the O levels and A levels with the Sri Lankan education system, I think about 300,000-400,000 sit for A levels and about 500,000-600,000 sit for O levels. Only 27,000 or under 30,000 get into the national universities, and that works out to, I think, the eligible students, about 17-18% are only catered to in the national system also. Then similar amount goes to other tertiary facilities available in Sri Lanka, private institutions, degree awarding institutions, etc. Also absorb part of it, and then large amount go out of the country every year. So if you take 17-18% goes to the national universities, 17-18% have tertiary kind of education within Sri Lanka and outside Sri Lanka, and the others are not in line. So now for the dropouts or the people who could not get into universities, there are, I think the government is having plans and doing things of various skill kind of training, various other job creation activities. But I think that is not sufficient. I think through the reforms, I think first we have to think before doing anything, what the government's objective, government vision, where do they want to go?
Let's discuss this further, Dr. Gamini. Time for a commercial break. On the other side, we asked Dr. Gamini Wickramasinghe about the drivers of change, including artificial intelligence, robotics, nanotechnology, 3D printing, and how that's evolving the concept of education. So stay with us.
When we entered the industry in 1995, a new star was born as a fully owned subsidiary of People's Bank. For those seeking to grow their businesses, PLC provided the seed. We are not only Sri Lanka's #1 leasing company, but also the largest non-banking financial institution. Welcome to a new dawn for the nation. Introducing People's Leasing and Finance, PLC.
LMD is making waves, airwaves. The next big thing from Sri Lanka's pioneering business journal, LMD Podcast, now online. Listen to our articles on the go at www.lmd.lk. Select, play, listen. It's that simple.
We understand that savings provide for life's special moments. That's why we were the first bank to introduce an incentivized savings scheme, Pathum Vimana. We changed how a nation felt about savings because we believe in banking beyond transactions. HNB, your partner in progress.
Welcome back to Benchmark. Let's now resume our discussion with Dr. Gamini Wickramasinghe, the chairman of the Informatics Institute of Technology. Dr. Gamini, we were talking about education and digitization. How can the corporate sector help out?
Corporate sector can help in different ways. Now, since we are in the subject of education, even for us at informatics, when we want experts, if the experts are not many around on a certain subject area, we appeal to the corporate sector. People come to us and even volunteer. And secondly, they also have various budgets allocated for social welfare and other kind of charitable and social activity. And so through that also they can help us in the IT infrastructure areas into the country, the schools, etc. And the curriculum development and other things, I think on this should be left to the government if you are going to do with the government syllabus. But then there are like tuition teachers. There are many teachers very good in certain subjects or certain areas. Corporate sector also, they can help us developing various programs, various educational areas to help the young students or the basically general education. Then I think because talking about the new technologies, that is also in the hands of mostly in the hands of the corporate sector.
Now we have drivers of change, nanotechnology, 3D printing, robotics, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and how is that going to impact the education sector?
Virtual reality, I think, is definitely going to impact education sector because now you can create the environment. Now, like if you want to visit a forest or see animals, you don't have to go to the jungle to see animals. You can even simulate that, or going to the space or doing things. So like today experiments people do in say physics or chemistry, that also can be done. You can create, you cannot touch and feel sometimes, but you can really see like a real life situation done through virtual reality, and then you need a certain amount of equipment and other facilities to get into the deep end of it. But I think that the knowledge transfer, on the subject of education, if you look at it, is much faster. People can now really see what would have taken and also understand what they would have had to spend many hours or days and months to learn something. So therefore it expedites or speeds up your learning process and also bring up a higher level of knowledge and a knowledge economy that you can contribute.
We were also discussing vocational training. Dr. Gamini, we are a country that's always been very emphatic on degrees, on professional and academic qualifications. But like you very rightly mentioned, there's always a need to upgrade skills. Do we give, as a nation and as an education provider, do we give enough emphasis on vocational skill development?
To my knowledge, I think not enough. Maybe I have not been exposed to it much. Yes, emphasis is going to university. From the time the parents, if they know something about education, that's when they want to see their son or daughter going through, because they see that there's a better life at the end of the tunnel. But then there are many other things you can do that people don't encourage very much. Now, even if you look at the IT sector, I know people who had come qualified IT engineers. Do after qualification, after getting the degree, they go and do something totally different. I don't want to mention, but there are medical doctors who are in the IT sector today, right? And they are fully IT. They have nothing to do with medicine. So, since IT has come into every profession, whether you are a veterinary science, a veterinary surgeon, or agriculture person, or any area, I think IT is important conduit that people should have, like the communications, the English, the link language, going through that they can have access to knowledge again, right? And also for opportunities. And talking about the other vocational and other training, I saw there are government is trying to do many things in that, but with the accepted foreign qualification also, if you can get it, it's a benefit. Now when a person goes to the Middle East and say I'm a plumber or an electrician, but if he had an international some kind of a certification, that like the driving license, so there's more value in the person going, and he also can demand a better salary or terms and conditions. So so that kind of thinking, I think you have to have it. There are hundreds of different vocational skills that people can have, and then there are job opportunities. If you're looking at it, job prospect wise, that's an exportable product to the world. Especially there was a time to the Middle East and even many parts of the world. I'm looking at again that if they do that, country also gains. One thing is we are uplifting our knowledge, our value goes up, the country value. We talk about accountants, lawyers and engineers. You have a full gamut of people, skills required in the world.
Do you see our education system in, say, a decade from now?
I think it will be totally the way things are. It will revolutionize with the digitization or the ICT technology coming. Most of our education will depend on, I think, internet and ICT unless something new comes. Now today satellites are all over, robotics you mentioned. Then a lot of people are going from repetitive tasks, sometimes they go into technology and then make people available for actually brain functioning, thinking, doing something. So all the others are taken by other people, other machines. So I think that's the world. And education in the next decade, I think many a times you can stay at home and do a lot of things. Sure. And I know people who are doing it. Now there are universities, students don't follow lectures at the university. They can be at home, they are not well, they can be in their bedroom and then follow the lecture. And and then they are continuously in touch with the world. So it doesn't have to be a sort of center that you have to be there, you have to follow it.
So that's virtual reality is what we're talking about. Thank you very much, Dr. Gamini, for joining us on Benchmark today.
Thank you.
We've been discussing education and the impact that digitization will have on that sector and eventually on the progress of our citizens with Dr. Gamini Wickramasinghe, the chairman of the Informatics Institute of Technology. Thank you for joining us, and on the other side, we have Anushan Selvaraja with more.
Sri Lanka's #1 leasing company is now the nation's largest and highest rated finance company with 2 international ratings. Let us move the nation as one with People's Leasing and Finance PLC.
LMD is making waves, airwaves. The next big thing from Sri Lanka's pioneering business journal, LMD Podcast, now online. Listen to our articles on the go at www.lmd.lk. Select, play, listen. It's that simple.
Nearly 60% of all businesses in our country are SMEs. Some of our most growth-oriented financial solutions have been customized to serve this sector. That's why we have invested over 500 billion rupees to support the backbone of our economy. Because we believe in banking beyond transactions. HNB, your partner in progress.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Anushin Selvaraja. Now for a closer look at the latest on the bourse, joining me is market analyst and LMD columnist Hasita Premratna. Welcome back to the show, Hasita. Now to start off with, our foreign reserves are down. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I think the foreign reserves have been coming under threat from the beginning of this year, especially after the $1.1 billion expected for the Hambantota port deal had not gone through, and it had continuously got delayed due to various other issues in the political front. I think that was supposed to be one of the key areas that was supposed to bridge this, and in the meantime government went ahead with the $1.5 billion sovereign bond, which is completed now, and I think they're looking at also bringing another $1 billion, close to $1 billion in the form of sovereign debt. So I think overall, when you look at those big numbers, which came after the 30th April number, which is at 1.5 billion on the sovereign bond, about close to $1 billion on debt, and if and when, hopefully sooner than later, when Hambantota deal money comes in, I think we should be able to have better footing in the context of the foreign reserve.
Now the stakeholders in the bourse, Hasita, what sort of initiatives have they put forward or brought in to prop up the performance of our bourse?
Yeah, I think when you say the stakeholders, you have clearly the stock exchange, Securities and Exchange Commission, and then you have the broker community, stockbroker community at large. So there have been, despite slowdowns and issues, I've seen quite a bit of interest being created by way of arranging road shows, especially for the foreign investors, and we've seen the results. I mean, obviously, a few foreign investor conferences were held in Sri Lanka as well as overseas in the recent past, and we've seen very clearly the inflows coming in. If you look at the last 3 months, the amount of net foreign inflows have been significant, and the foreign participation has been close to 50% of the total turnover. I think the foreign side has been relatively taken care of, and there have been good focus. But what has been missing in the local investor participation? So first in that list is the state funds. Government themselves have put some of those state funds on hold from investing in capital markets because of some of these issues and scams and investigations that are currently going on related to those. So hopefully that will get resolved. That's a key aspect which I think for the capital market to get a further boost, because the local state funds, which includes EPF, ETF, Bank of Ceylon, NSB, these are the funds which have the holding power and the ability to pick up big quantities from a local perspective, and then retailers will naturally come to the party. So I think from a marketing point of view, foreign side has been handled well by the broker community mostly, as well as stock exchange has had some foreign roadshows as well, but the local state participation has to be boosted. So for that, I think there has to be work done. More work to be done, and in the meantime the retail participation then will come, and that's when probably the brokers could reach out to the domestic retail consumers and see how and when they can jump into the party. So this sequence need to be managed well. It's chicken and egg situation, because brokers cannot invest too much money if activity is not there, and in the meantime, of course, for activity to come, there has to be this kind of focus. So I think a lot more work to do.
The current performance of the bourse, Hasita, then is it sustainable going forward?
I think it's definitely sustainable because what we saw in the last 3 months is a re-rating from about low 6,000, 6,100 points levels in the SPI to about 6,600, 6,500 range, which in fact we've seen the SPI touching about 6,700 as well. I think that re-rating came predominantly in relative valuations to the global markets. And also the fact that the foreigners, as a result of that, started to chip in and acquire fundamentally sound stocks which were trading at relatively low multiples. So that re-rating I thought was something that was sustainable and warranted. But from here to move, I think a lot of uncertainty in the domestic economy and the perception, mostly the perception than the uncertainty, it's the perception about the uncertainty. If it's been managed better, I'm sure things will move. So I think the appointment of a change in the finance ministry hopefully should take action to make things work better, because if there was a confidence issue, it should get resolved, and it won't get resolved on its own, but it has to be through some work done. And I hope that there will be some work done, because local investor sentiment need to be improved by way of tangible action that's been shown by the government, and that is something that is lacking to an extent so far. So once that chip in, so things should be better, and that sentiment based drive will certainly help things to move in the right direction.
Thank you for joining us, Hasita.
Thank you.
That was market analyst and LME columnist Hasita Prematna. We'll be right back after a short commercial break. Stay tuned.
When we entered the industry in 1995, a new star was born as a fully owned subsidiary of People's Bank. For those seeking to grow their businesses, PLC provided the seed. We are not only Sri Lanka's #1 leasing company, but also the largest non-banking financial institution. Welcome to a new dawn for the nation. Introducing People's Leasing and Finance, PLC.
LMD is making waves, airwaves. The next big thing from Sri Lanka's pioneering business journal, LMD Podcast, now online. Listen to our articles on the go at www.lmd.lk. Select, play, listen. It's that simple.
Sri Lanka's #1 leasing company is now the nation's largest and highest rated finance company with 2 international ratings. Let us move the nation as one with People's Leasing and Finance PLC.
Gami Pubudua, our microfinance offering, makes it possible for the youth of this country who have a viable business plan but lack the funds to realize their dreams. We are committed to grassroots level entrepreneur development because we believe in banking beyond transactions. HNB, your partner in progress.
Hello and welcome back to the show. I'm Anushan Selvaraja. Now for a closer look at the latest on the LMD Kanta TNS survey. Joining me is the country manager of Kanta TNS, Meerani Disanaika. Welcome back to the show, Meerani. Now, as usual, to start us off, give us a brief overview of the survey.
Okay, Anusha. This month's survey was around the image that has been earned by the country as Sri Lanka in the eyes of Sri Lankan citizens.
Does Sri Lanka have a good image amongst its people?
If you take a closer look at the results of the study, actually it's not a pleasing situation right now. Approximately 55% of people who we interviewed do not see that the country has earned a positive image so far. Main reason attributed to that is the key representative of the country, which is the politicians. The way they are taking actions and the inappropriate way of handling things is the main reason. On the other side, around 3 out of 10 people believe that yes, the country has a good image. Two reasons have been highlighted. One is the great religious reconciliation that we have earned for the country, as well as the cultural background.
Has the image improved over time?
The two time periods they are referred to when we ask this question. One is since 2015, how the country has improved on its image. With regard to that, not many people believe that the country has improved our image in the eyes of people. The second time period was post-war time period, how the image was improved. Significant proportion of people who we interviewed seem that the post-war period we have improved the image simply because the peaceful environment the country has created for citizens as well as people outside the country.
How do respondents view Sri Lanka from a regional perspective?
It's a bit different perspective that we see, Anushan. In the regional perspective, the image for the country seems to be better than what it is locally. Key reason being the economic and social stability that attributed to the country, and moreover people, and kind-hearted people and people who are smiling always has been identified as a big reason for us to maintain that positive image in the context of region.
Right. Thank you very much for joining us, Mihirani.
Thank you, Anusha.
That was the country manager of Contact TNS, Mihirani Disanaika. Thank you for watching Benchmark, and we hope to see you again next time.